Good afternoon. Today we'll be discussing how we can further improve the American education system in order to better prepare students for the workforce. We will begin by going through the current situation of the American education system, some of the restrictions. We will then provide some solutions, their limitations, and based on all the research we gathered, what we believe is the best solution to our problem.
To first establish our context from the employer's perspective, a survey conducted by the U.S. Chamber Foundation and the University of Phoenix concluded that over 90% of employers valued either interpersonal, communication, and technological skills when hiring new employees.
In a separate study conducted by Furman Leo, an education reporter with a degree in communication, 87% out of 165,000 students felt like they weren't being adequately prepared with the skills necessary for them to succeed after graduation.
So the first issue that the American education system currently faces is scale. With over 50 million students having to be taught by only 3 million teachers, what this creates is a high workload on teachers to manage each and every one of their students. Teachers try and adapt to this issue by creating a curriculum that generalizes to most students but may neglect certain groups of students. And continuing on.
So another problem in the education system is the ranking system. So the ranking system creates a competitive mindset due to its impact on college admissions, thus influencing how students' life progresses. Also, the ranking system would not be a problem if not for the fact that it contrasts a collaborative mindset that's needed within the workforce for connections and projects with coworkers and other companies. Also, the ranking system encourages short-term learning due to the fact that students try to raise in rank in a short amount of time, thus resorting to cramming, thinking that they're studying efficiently.
Now, by show of hands, how many people finished all of their history notes last night? Right? That's an overwhelming majority of the class. Now, how many people will actually retain that information for a reading assessment that would have been tomorrow? That's not a lot of people. This is a result of short-term learning. Now, short-term learning is when people try to learn large amounts of information in a limited period of time. This comes as a result of pressures that both students and teachers face. Now, students feel pressured to utilize short-term learning because they have to learn large amounts of information in a short period of time because they have teachers have to meet certain standards, and students also have to balance out their extracurricular life, their personal life, and their family life, as well as attain a high GPA. Teachers also feel pressured because they have to meet certain standards, as well as they have to accommodate for the large scale of students that they have to teach. And as a result, different learning styles are neglected in exchange for efficiency, and this results in creativity being sacrificed.
Our fourth issue is that social and communication skills are not being fostered while students are young and in school, the place where they spend the majority of their time. Group projects are also highly ineffective due to the lack of communication skills, and we have a solution for that later on in this presentation. Public speaking anxiety may also be developed in students as a result of them trying to present the perfect presentation, the stress of them trying to get into a good college as well. These skills are highly important for the workforce, however, they are not being developed.
There is a current restriction in creativity in the American education system. This comes to no surprise, considering the historical value behind it. The American workforce in the 20th century deemed academic knowledge as most beneficial, and this ideology has stayed in place since the Industrial Revolution. This academic prioritization has led to the stripping of creativity programs in schooling, in preference for those that promise higher test grades and better academic success. This leads to students developing psychological barriers that leads them to believe that there's only one path to success and that there is only one solution to all real-world problems, thus hindering the ability to be creative. As a result, creativity is not transferred on into the workforce because of the American education system, influencing the innovation and effectiveness of the workforce.
So considering the context of the workforce in the 21st century, as well as the current limitations of the American education system, our group has decided to propose two solutions in order for education to evolve to better prepare students. The first of these solutions is individualized learning, a tactic in which technology is used to manage the sheer scale of students, manage their progress in order to customize a curriculum that's custom for their needs and their interests. What this does is engages the students in what they're learning, as well as paces them at a rate that they can manage the content and they're not left behind in order to keep up with sort of schedule. Furthermore, this provides teachers with a personalized curriculum that allows them to target the needs of their students rather than create a redundant lesson plan that not all students may benefit from.
The second solution is project-based learning. Project-based learning is when there is a challenge, task, or question assigned to a group of students about issues relevant to them, where the teacher acts as a mentor. Furthermore, these students must find a solution to this problem, and they have to work efficiently in order to find a solution. They have to work collaboratively in order for them to find success. Thus, they are successful for engaging in self-assessment.
Now to further elaborate on what Julian was saying, we have this diagram here. So there is a clear difference between just simply doing a project and project-based learning. Now when you just do a project, your teacher has a knowledge and they expect you to learn all that, they expect you to gain that knowledge through the project. And so as a result, teachers give directions to students and students will follow the directions and they will come up with a product that meets the standards of the teacher. Now in project-based learning, the teacher poses a question and students are free to explore the topic in more depth, and then they have to collaborate with each other, come up with a product that is reflective of what they have learned. Now, in project-based learning, teachers act more as a mentor, wherein they are guiding the students to make sure that their product will be reflective of what they have learned, and it's much more effective than just doing a project.
However, there are a few limitations to our solutions. So the first limitation for individualized learning is that it's difficult for teachers to incorporate data about qualitative metrics, such as behavior. Also, individualized learning is still not widely supported by colleges, so teachers have to translate individualized learning into letter grades. Also, technology is expensive, so this puts underprivileged schools at a disadvantage. Furthermore, teachers still require additional training outside of their workload, and students' progress may not be able to meet standards that are needed in order to progress to the next grade level.
A few limitations with project-based learning is that poorly designed and executed projects do not require communication or teamwork skills. For example, one team member might choose to do the entire project by himself, leaving the other team members just to do nothing, therefore creating an environment which is uncollaborative, uncooperative. The subject may also not engage all students, again creating that uncooperative, uncollaborative environment. The subject may not apply to project-based learning such as math, which is very factual and practice-based. Pioneering research has been conducted, however not very much, but all in all, project-based learning shows the most promise.
Project-based learning still is our group's final conclusion as our best solution because it addresses the issues of ranking by creating an environment where students have to work with each other in order to be successful. They cannot afford to tear each other down in order to get a good ranking, as their grade is hinged on each other. Furthermore, in its current state, project-based learning is a very novel idea, and it's limited in a sense as research, as Faith mentioned, that pioneering research has only been conducted, but over time, as researchers better understand how to apply project-based learning, as well as teachers better understanding how to apply project-based learning as a whole can become a more effective tool for educating students. Finally, the limitation of technology will only improve over time as technology becomes more and more accessible to underprivileged schools. Finally, project-based learning engages students and engages them in an enriching environment that allows them to maintain these long-term memories of what they've learned.
Here are our citations.
Okay, so Michelle, describe an argument from one of your peers' individual reports that made you think differently about your team's solution.
Well, Faith's IRR was about the classroom environment, how to make it more engaging, and her argument was basically a counter argument to our solution of project-based learning, because she said that project-based learning isn't effective when the group does not work together. So we had to take into consideration how to make project-based learning more effective when a group does work together.
Right. In what way did you improve your ability to work with the group as a result of the project?
So one thing that I learned while working with my group members is that each person functions differently. So originally I had addressed everyone the same way. I thought that everyone would be able to work at the same pace. However, after working with various amounts of people, I learned that each person works at their own pace and we have to approach each person differently.
Reflecting on your teammates' work, Who had the greatest impact on your overall understanding of the problem?
I feel like Akil's understanding, his IR actually contributed a whole lot. His was about our problem, the solution. He came up with our solution of project-based learning, individualized learning, and he was how we can improve our education system. So all in all, he was basically, we had the problem, he had the solution.
Okay. So describe how the content of the team presentation was changed after a group discussion.
So before the group discussion, we decided, we assumed that we would just have a massive overhaul of the American education system, and we only considered the context of only the classroom. However, after the group discussion, we realized that there's many different scientific links, as Michelle's paper brought up how the brain works and the science behind it, and Julian's brought up creativity and how creativity has been a historical problem for the American education system, and well as Ruth brought up ranking, how that's sort of the college admission aspects and how college admission rates are dropping, how that also influences the problem. So with combining all these into a discussion, we realized that the context isn't limited just to the teachers and the students, however to colleges, to historical aspects, as well as much larger than just the classroom.
Okay. I'm sorry. Oh, in what way did the team resolution make you think differently about your research?
Okay, so a way that the team resolution, which was project-based learning, made me feel different about my solution was that my aspect towards creativity is that it was completely restricted in the education system, and there was very limited amount of support for creativity in these classrooms. And for there to be a tactic that can be implemented into classrooms that can be as efficient as project-based learning really expanded the view of which I approached the solution.
All right, thank you guys.